Peace and blessings. And namaste to all light warriors, workers, and everything in between. It is I, Sophie, today, and I'm going to tell you something. I'm upset. And the reason why I'm upset is because the video that I'm doing now, I already did. Okay. And I was doing it in my car before I was entering in my meeting, my work meeting. And when I played it back, the microphone was going in and out because my vehicle was having an issue, switching back and forth from the Bluetooth and me just talking directly in it. So it came across very choppy and messed up. And since that is the case, I couldn't air the video. So now I'm gonna try to replicate the nice little information downloads that I was already receiving and hoping that it still comes across the same because this is an important message. This transmission is really dealing with healers. Okay, whether you're a star seed, sun seed, dragon seed, light worker, all of that. This is specific for healers. Okay, shamans, Reiki, and especially doulas. And if you're in any type of medical field, you may have this situation. Now, what I'm going to talk to you about is having the ability to speak to the subconscious minds of people to get them healed through telepathic communication. And the reason why I'm bringing this up now is because this is something that I just now discovered. All right, so when I discover something new, I try to share it with you guys. Not to say that everything is going to work for you the exact same way that it worked for me, but at least I'm giving you the blueprint. Okay, and then you have to tweak it to whatever gifts and skills and talents that you may already possess. And if you don't know that you have this gift, then if I were you, I would go ahead and inquire about it in my private moments, in my private space and connection with the divine. So let me show you by giving you an example of what it is I'm talking about. Without disclosing, too much information, let's say I had a friend, and my friend was telling me that, they had a loved one that was, in a hospice, and had kind of given up on life. Wasn't eating, lost a lot of weight, wasn't talking, and was kind of bedridden. And it was a concern because when we're at that stage of life, we tend to go around and start preparing the family of a possible transition. The thing is, I'm a very praying woman. Okay, so when this friend told me this issue about their loved one, I asked for the name, right? And then I said, okay, let me call you back. And my immediate response is to do what I do best, is to get into my meditation, get into my prayer, and see if I can tap into source, the divine, and see if I can make any type of changes or get any information that might be pertinent to the healing of this person. And as I began doing that, I heard, okay, no, speak to the valley of dry bones. Again, now this is not the first time that I've heard this, okay? The first time that I heard it, I was dealing with masses of people. But this second time that I heard this was dealing with one individual. So, in my somewhat confused state, I was inquiring on how is this supposed to be done, okay? And then it started coming to me that some of us have the ability to speak directly to the subconscious mind or the soul of an individual, bypassing the system of physical connection. So the first thing that I did, with this, and it's because I kind of do things in order. All right, I understand, who I am, what I came here to do, but I also know that there are spiritual order and spiritual systems that are in place. And the more that we acknowledge these things and learn how to operate them and learn how the laws that are governing this, then the more equipped you become in knowing what to ask, okay, how to ask it, who to ask it to. Um, If you're not called to understand all of these spiritual systems and rankings and things, that's fine. All you have to do is go straight to source. Okay? And source will allocate what needs to be done and who is to work on your behalf for you. Okay? So, once again, this is not for the faint of heart, and this is not for everybody. But the first thing that I did was I asked of the creator, I said, okay, are you willing to take this person? Are you ready to receive this soul? And I was told no. Okay. So then I asked, can I have permission to actually speak to this soul? And I was granted permission. Okay. Is that going to work every time? Who knows? You know what I mean? I'm still discovering it. And before y'all get in my inbox saying, hey, tell me how you did that, I'm just going to tell you flat out, I'm still learning it. Once I perfect it, or if there is a certain system, then I will go ahead and do another video and telling you that system. But as for now, I'm going to leave the blueprint for you, the breadcrumbs, tweak it as necessary. Okay? Talk in your language, in your relationship to the divine. Once I got permission to access the energy of that individual, then I started to speak to the valley of dry bones. This is what we would consider the resurrection, all right? Or a form of resurrection. See, there is, times where we read about things, in the past, and we're expecting it to be so grandiose, like, oh, I'm not going around and raising the dead, okay? But consider the varying degrees of what we would consider dead. All right? This could be spiritually, this could be mentally, and this can also be physically. All right? So, what happens when somebody decides to give up on life? Okay? Or if somebody's in a space where, they don't recognize or truly understand their connection with the creator, and or not walking out their best journey. Okay? And this could be due to depression or anything like that. I mean, we go through hell on this realm. All right, it is one of those things where it's like survival of the fittest. Okay, you got to be strong spiritually, mentally, and physically to navigate through this realm. So when we're talking about speaking to the valley of dry bones and resurrection, we're also including spirit, and we're also including soul. We're including the mind as well. All right. So I get permission, and now I go straight to the consciousness of this individual, and I ask, "Do you want to live?" And I was told yes. Okay. And once I got the okay from them and the person that I was dealing with, that's when I started speaking words of power and life. Okay. Into the subconscious mind, into the soul of this individual who was nowhere near me. Okay. I was not physically present. This is something that I did in my meditation in my home. And as I started to speak words of life, words of encouragement, words of health, trying to get them to eat, stand up in their power, recognizing who they are, and et cetera, and et cetera. What I realized was it was easy to bypass the system, and the words that I spoke went directly to the soul and the spirit of that individual, which then quickened the physical body to want to make the proper adjustments, and the mind to want to make the proper adjustments to go ahead and find the strength to stand up and fight. Okay? Now, this was going on in my meditation. How did I confirm that this even worked? Well, maybe about an hour, I informed the friend, hey, I was praying for them, I didn't tell them that I was speaking to the subconscious because people aren't really ready to hear that. Okay, so we kind of talk to people on a level that they can understand and that makes sense to them. So I never said, right off bat that I addressed the soul, that I talked to them directly, telepathically, okay, through the ethers, okay, and from where information flows. All right. So I already told him I was going to do that. Maybe about an hour later, I was contacted again by a family member of that person who informed them, hey, tell her thanks for the prayer. She's starting to talk. She's sitting up. So when that happened, they moved this individual to the hospital. Now, that's when they found out that, they might have been emancipated, they weren't eating, gaining fluids, and all of that stuff. A couple of days later, after they send them back, we hear now that not only is a person talking, but the person is also, eating, starting to eat again, and also made their first phone call to a family member on their own. Okay, the will of this individual simply by you speaking. Okay, speaking to the subconscious mind, speaking to the soulish realm, it had altered the will of that individual to not only want to live, but to fight for their survival. All right. And now you got divine into place that is honoring, the things that you're saying and helping along in the process. So hence, we have a modern day miracle. Now, this has happened with me twice. Okay. They're not exactly the same situation, but at the same time, it's allowing me to know that during this time that our DNA is really being activated, that neurological pathways are expanding. And so now we have access to different parts of our brains that we previously didn't have. And if you have the knowing of who you are on this realm, none of this would really be far-fetched for you. Okay? None of this could be far-fetched. But here's something that you have to consider when you're venturing into, this line of work. Doulas, okay, healers, and people that work in the hospital industry. You're going to come across this a whole lot. It is important if you find somebody in a coma state, if you find somebody on their deathbed, it is important first to inquire about that individual and where they are before you go directly in. Okay? Why? Because number one, we never want to infringe on free will. We don't want to do that. Okay? We don't want to insert ourselves into something that, is dealing with that individual and the divine. What do I mean by that? How many of you had somebody that was sick or leaving and prayed really hard, okay, because you believed, you had faith, and you went out there and you wanted that person to live, and you had faith that it would happen just to see them transition out, and you got disappointed, okay, and now you start questioning the validity of God or the divine or anything, whatever spiritual path that you yourself is on. Start questioning it now. But what you don't understand is there's also communication that's going on with that vessel that needs healing with the divine, just like it's communication with you and the divine. So praying for somebody or interceding on somebody that does not have the desire to stay around and is ready to transition and already made that contract with the divine, you're going to find that it's not going to work. All right? And it's not a thing that you don't have the gift. You probably bypass the system. Okay? It's important to understand the systems and how this goes. Because we are sovereign unto the creator of all, unto source, unto the universe. All right? We're sovereign unto them, but we cannot go above its laws, especially its immutable laws. All right? So we learn how to function through it. And so, what did I do first? Okay, the first thing that I did when I found out the situation was, of course, go into my prayer and my meditation and try really, really hard to see, the condition of that energy and what ways that I could help. The second thing that I did was acknowledge the system. Okay, so I went directly to the divine and asked for permission to connect with this energy. Okay, now, for some who don't ask for permission, there is no guarantee that the energy that you think you're tapping in is that energy. There are lots of tricksters out here, okay? You're finding yourself speaking things or getting information and then it's registering as untrue. It's because you probably did it that way. And there's a lot of teaching that, it goes out there that says, oh, you're sovereign, you can do this, you can manifest that. Okay, we'd like to see it. It doesn't work that way. Okay. So the very first thing that I did was address the source and ask for permission. The second thing that I did was ask of the source what was their goal for this soul. Are you ready to take this soul? Okay. Is the soul ready to go? That type of thing. Okay. If the case was, the divine said, yes, that soul is ready to go. I need them to, transition from this realm and do more healing or whatever it is that they need to do, then my buck would have stopped there. Okay. What I would have done then was kind of talk to the subconscious and get it to heal itself or prepare itself for the transition, not intervene. So I went through that step one, then I went through step two, and then I went through step three, which was to deal with the subconscious of the individual, just to make sure that this is what they want. Because if it's not what they want, then I'm really speaking in vain. All right. So we want to make sure that we always have permission to access any type of energy or anything like that. All right. So I did those phases. When I was able to connect to the subconscious mind, that's when I started speaking life. That's when we started resurrecting the dead. Okay, this is in the mind. This is spiritually dead type of thing, and this is when I was able to say to that person in the subconscious, you got work to do. It's not your time yet. It's not over for you. I need you to sit up. I need you to start eating. I need you to find your strength in this. I need for you to go ahead and connect back with source. I need you to have the ability to identify what your mission is, what your role is, what you offer the world, who you're going to leave behind. If this is something that you are wanting to do, it is very important that you pull the will and the strength and do it. And if there is a case, if there's something that is like being oppressive over that energy, you can remove it as well. Okay? Now. This is something that I really want to practice. So maybe I can get it down to a science, but it's not as easy as that because I don't know too many people that are in comas, and I'm not going to wish that just so I can see if I can get them out of it. You know what I mean? So I address it as it comes. And when it comes to things like this, practice makes perfection. Right now, what I'm doing to you is depending on, if you have this type of gift, if you need to address something like this on your own time, you need to tweak it to the spiritual system and communication and relationship that you have. Okay? The things that I do may not work for you, but it does not mean that it might not work. Okay, it just means you may have to go through um, another avenue to achieve the same things. All right, there is immutable laws that govern the universe that cannot be broken, but can be adjusted, if that makes sense. Now, if you want to try to adjust these things, you can, tap in to source, figure out, what would limit your karma and etc. And make sure that you do things in an orderly fashion where you are acknowledging the things that are on this earth, whether or not you feel like you're above it. Okay? When we entered into this realm, we entered into this realm with the understanding that we were going to change it, morph it, okay, create something new, but within the confounds of the hierarchy that was already established. Trust me when I say it's no different. Okay? Trust me when I say you have the ears to the divine, it will be honored. It will be honored. Why? During this time, it's the intention of the heart that is actually doing the transformation. It what is actually being looked at and what is actually being judged, right? So we can come into this realm and have all of this power and all of this authority, or at least we think we do, right? And there's illusion that comes along with that too. Okay, there is an illusion. Now we can come in here with all of these gifts, right? But if the intention is not pure, if the intention, is not honored, then you might not see the things that you need start to manifest. Okay. There's people that have power and great strength, and great gifts and abilities, but it's not for the sake of wanting power or to lord over people or to manipulate free will. You will understand that if you start to do these things, anything that you acquire will be very short lived. Why? Where your treasure is, so is your heart, and vice versa. Wherever your heart is, there your treasure will lie. They go hand in hand, right? So the spiritual minded that is seeking to turn lead into gold will focus on the things of higher consciousness and let it trickle down to the material world, as above, so below. Your spiritual ranking will start to reflect on your earth realm. Okay? So now you got the ear of the divine, you got the ear of source, and you're trusted. Right? So now when you go into things like this, or you ask, you know, a lot of things will be granted to you because you got the keys. You got the keys now. Right? And we want the keys. This is what we want because everything else will align itself. The material, all of that will align itself. But we keep our eyes single because we're trying to go to greater heights. All right? Now, when we speak to the subconscious mind, long distance, if you go through the proper tract to do so, you can rest assured that you're speaking directly to that person. Okay? It's things that they're going to say, you know, and then you're going to have the real world confirming it for you, giving you a call or saying this is what happened, that's what happened. Boom. Now you know you're in there. Now you know they're in there. However, if you do not go through the proper channels, there is no telling what trickster energy you might get. Okay? And now you're speaking out false prophecies, but you're never seeing it actually manifest. Right? So we want to make sure that all of these things always manifest for us. Okay. Now, many people look at, ancient writings of the past and they say to themselves, oh man, they were able to do this and they were able to do that. And this was a miracle and that was a miracle, but it's not applicable today. That is false. Okay? Once you understand cycles, trends, and patterns, once you understand how time actually works, now you know that there is nothing new under the sun. Okay? The same things that they were doing of old, you're doing now. It was written to you, by the way, when people were astounded back then. You're going to be even better than that. Okay? Why? Because we're going through different levels of ascension. So even the power that was harnessed back then would increase in this day and age. Right? That's how it works. So you have to be confident in this. You have to be confident in this. You have to make sure that you know who you are and what you're representing. And what's really, 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 really important is not to have any karmic debt. Okay? We're turning lead into gold. So that means we're doing a self-reflection on, the things that we have done in this journey to ourselves, even if it was a case of self-sabotage, right? Or we're not heeding and learning the messages. We're not listening to the divine, or those type of things. And now you've heaped a whole bunch of karma on you. That has to be addressed first before you're able to get to those higher states of consciousness. It's all about forgiveness as well. And what do I mean by this? What I mean by all about being about forgiveness as well, if you harmed people, right? Say you did some people dirty that was innocent, okay? And they put a charge against you, okay? They prayed about the situation. And the divine focused on the situation. And now they see that this person, my child, my son, my daughter, is innocent, right? Your karmic law will start to go into place at that moment. How long you stay in it is up to you. Okay? So, this is happening. Okay? So, this is a universal principle, remember? So, and we can call it cause and effect. We can call it reaping and sowing. Whatever you want to call it, it's a universal principle. So, what we are throwing out has to eventually come back to us anyway. Now, how do we break this? If you go to the divine or to source and you say, I'm seeking forgiveness of this, okay? The divine will forgive you, but it does not stop the karma. The only people that can, or the only thing that will start the karma is if you're getting forgiveness and it's released from the person that you have harmed. Do you understand? Right? So you'll be forgiven, you'll be able to move forward, but you're going to play out that which you have actually sown. You're going to. The person that you have harmed can intervene on your behalf if you go to them directly, and it can stop that karmic wheel. Because now, why? They already have the keys, so it honors them. Okay? So, how long or how short that process is really depends on you. Okay? There is a certain dispensation of time, a certain amount of time that you may have, to go ahead and address these things and get it released. Or you'll just play out that certain amount of time with that karmic expression. Eventually, you'll get out of it. All right? So it's not like you're going to be burdened forever. It's how you approach it. And some people have so much pride to actually apologize or even acknowledge their wrongdoing. These are they that no matter what they say and put out in the atmosphere, it ain't going nowhere. Trust me. We learn through experience. Don't think I didn't try that before. A long time ago in my past, I did. And I still went through that karmic season. All right? Now, we speak to the Valley of Dry Bones, another gift that was bestowed on many of us, especially once again, if you're in the health field in any way, okay, you can deal with the subconscious mind. If you do not know that you have this gift already, ask for it, okay, because ultimately, if your intentions are pure, you may get it. You're trusted, right? And since you are trusted, why would that be restricted from you? Especially if it's for the greater good. Okay? We're going to have an issue here because these animals think that they're entitled to my energy when I walk in the door. So, I need you to go, baby. I need you to go. So, that's what, and they throw me off a little bit, but I love animals, so we're good. We're speaking to the Valley of Dry Bones. We're having access to the subconscious mind, and we're doing it through higher levels of consciousness. All right? We're getting permission to do these things, and once it is granted, you don't have to ask for it again. Can you do this? You don't have to ask for it. The question then would be, the next time you do it, Father, Father or Mother, sorry, however you want to look at it, what is your intentions with the soul? Okay? And don't act like you can't ask this question, because you can. Your connection with the divine elevates through your processes. The way that you understand and process your reality around you. The way that you alchemize negativity and turn it into something positive. The way that you acknowledge the realms, okay, and the different levels and the hierarchy that are governing this. You need to learn it if you're one that is called to learn it. If you are not called to learn it, it even gets more simple. Go directly to source, bypass the system, and let the source go ahead and delegate what needs to be done for you. Okay? But for those of you who are called, especially if, oh my God, if you are a Scorpio, good luck. Good luck with trying to get out of, your duties, because that's another fixed sign. And let's be honest, most Scorpios, and water signs in general are empathic, intuitive, and the Scorpio nature are considered masters of the occult. So even be careful with that. Make sure that your duality is balanced. Okay? You know you have access to the left and the right, right? You have on one side, you know, your healing angels, your loving angels, your we're going to be above this. You know, we're in our unconditional love, and then you also have your vengeance angels, and they both will work on your behalf. Okay? What you have to do is make sure at all times that you keep your hands clean. Okay? That is the key to true manifestation. All right? It is the key to true manifestation. Have no charges hovering over you. Correct your wrongs. Right? And then you'll see certain things will released from you. There is no bypassing of this. There's no talking around it. Okay? There is no, oh, I'm going to go to the divine and treat this person, you know, and correct my issues with this person, but you still have somebody else that is still seeking justice for it. Now, what also can be done is, and that will release you from karma, is even if you don't address that person that you have harmed in one way or another, that person can still release you and say, I forgive you, you know, or I forgive this person to the divine, but they still have to use the principle. It is only when they deal with you personally and says, hey, I'm going to release you from this expression. I understand, you know, that this was a mistake. I understand that, you know, I understand that you are seeking, you know, to right your wrongs and to live a righteous life. So I'm going to go to Father and ask her to be short. Then you might feel some burdens lifted, but ignoring it, it don't work. It just don't work. All right. Now, having access to higher levels of consciousness comes with your ability to ascend, and your ability to ascend comes with your comprehension. Okay? Your understanding, your knowing, your alchemy. The higher you ascend, the closer that you are in operating in your God or Christ energy. Okay? This is how we become logos. This is how we do resurrections. This is how we're able to, you know, dismiss spirits, and because they already know who you are. All right? So we're not going with no Hollywood, you know, head turning around and green spitting up out of you. Trust me when I say spirits will leave. They will. Okay? As much as we want to operate in unconditional love and be accommodating to all souls, you know, as much as we want to raise consciousness of all souls, you have to know when it's time to let go. All right? And this is something that you're going to know because your ancestors, your angels, your guides, and the high, the most high, the creator of all, the energy of the source, is going to make ways for you to have the ability to identify when it's time to let go. Let something go. Okay? You cannot live a prosperous and abundant life tied to karma. The things that you put your hand to the plows to do, the things that you try to accomplish will always be delayed, stifled, or go backwards. Okay? So, your connections during this time is important. During a previous season, where there was grace going abound, you had the time to get it done then. But now this time, you have to let it go. Okay? You have to let it go. Why? Why? We should have by now understood and processed our journeys. We should have by now had the ability to identify where our shortcomings is, the things that we need work in. If it is pride, if it is ego, if it is some type of oppression, if it is pain that is still holding your consciousness back from elevating to the highest versions of itself that it needs to, then you will still be easily compromised. Do you understand? And when you're easily compromised, you don't just compromise yourself, you compromise the entire team. And you cannot have members on your team that lack discernment or the ability to think for themselves at this time. If you are a being that has so many people inside of your ear that is causing confusion and you're not strong enough to cut through it, you will be compromised. And you're going to compromise the people that surround you. All right? And now you're operating in complete and total failure. You have to let it go. Okay? They will form another team. And they'll grow on that level. But yours, you still have to keep going. Remember what I told you. It's a slippery slope going backwards down a mountain. Okay? Let it go. You cannot go backwards. All right? Now, another thing with sovereignty. When I say we are sovereign unto the Most High, when we are sovereign to the Creator, when we are sovereign unto Source, whatever it is that you would like to call that fits your palate best. When we are sovereign unto that, we are given a lot more authority on this earth as we do in other realms, in higher realms. This means that things that are designed to control this earth realm, you bypass that system. You become the anomaly. Stop believing in the fact that the moon and the sun and Mars and Venus can automatically control your reality. If this was the case, we'd all be functioning the same during the same periods of time. But there are those who have reached a level of sovereignty where we understand the energy that comes down but is not affected by it. Okay? Imagine being affected, your consciousness, your state of being, your levels of understanding, your life, by energies. Energies may carry a certain theme. It does not mean that you automatically adjust it to you. Remember the old commercials, live above the influence? You can do that too. You understand? Yes, there are certain things that's going to affect a collective whole. It does not automatically mean that it affects you. Okay? Your sovereignty, your connection, the energy that you're harnessing within you, that God consciousness, that Christ consciousness, whatever it is, if you're opening up and realizing I'm a god or a goddess on this realm, then you're not going to be affected by the things that affect the matrix. Okay? You can't say you're outside of the matrix and still be affected by matrix programming. Okay? You are not going to care if it's in retrograde, forward grade. We're not going to care about what season it is. If that is the case, you're going to be carried along with it. Now your reality is being governed and judged by something outside yourself. Okay? This is true to an extent. Those who are under that type of energy. But for those who are the anomaly that came to break these patterns, these cycles, your connection with Source is the only thing that governs on whether what season you are in and why. So we can't automatically assume because we are in a certain season that all things are going to be broken and released from us and you ain't do the work. All right? That's a free pass. Since when have we had free passes? You understand? We are going to be reflected on what it is that we put out. It's going to come back. Okay? So if you wreaked hell all the way in the winter, if you was out here wreaking hell in the winter, just because spring comes around and things are becoming renewed doesn't mean that that's automatically going to work for you. Okay? Stop letting outside things govern your reality. You have to go within and understand who you are and say, I'm here to break this, not co-sign it. right? Okay. I'm telling you all of this because these gifts are running rampant now, and many people are not trusting themselves, trusting their abilities. And not even that, but not even trusting the abilities of others as well. Okay? Typically because it's not happening to them. And remember what I said to you a long time ago about the spirit of jealousy? It is better to walk away from it completely and disconnect from it completely, because that's really one of those things where you're not going to be able to control. It's between that individual and the divine. Trust me, it's an attachment that goes along with that. So no matter how nice you are, no matter how loving you are, no matter how supportive you are, there's always that ick in the back of them that causes them to dislike you, and they can't even explain why. Okay? Start cutting people off and protect your energy so that you can draw new into you. Okay? That doesn't mean you don't love those people. It don't mean that. But during these times, truth and illusions should be separating and fading away from your existence. And I told you before, there's some people you're never, ever, ever going to see in the physical realm again. You're going to talk to them. You might FaceTime them. You're going to see them on social media. You might call them on the phone. You won't see them in person. They are no longer with you. Okay? I understand that that's a hard concept to grasp. But the more that you start to see it and experience, the easier this becomes for you. You just have to have your mind open to understand that there's way higher knowledge and wisdom out there than what you believe or what you have read. And when you're open enough to receive that, you can start hearing from spirit yourself. Once again, bypassing the systems. Or, even better, having authority over the systems. Okay? Remember, anything that you do on this earth should not be self-centered. Okay? If we're going to make changes, we need to make changes for the collective as well. If you're going to have gifts and power, it's to defend. Okay? It's to create something new. It's not all about you. Okay? Things that happen in that way gets taken away really quickly. You do a false manifestation, you manifest somebody, that you're supposed to love, or this, that, and the third. You'll see how quickly that love turns into something else. But when you sit back and you do the work and you have the purest of intentions on what it is that you're manifesting, this cat is driving me nuts. Pure of what you're manifesting, you will then see that those things are built to last and they're eternal. Cat, move. Okay. I'm being summoned by the animal kingdom at this time. And I just wanted to leave that with you. Talk to the divine. Speak to the valley of dry bones. Resurrect the dead. And do it on a subconscious level. That person will never, or may not, it depends on how intuitive they are, they may or may not, but they'll never know on a physical realm. But trust me, you are being watched and appreciated on the higher realms, right? Ain't that right, Queen? Ain't that right? So that's all I have for you guys. My name is Sophie, and I love you all. And I want you to enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye now.